To begin the session, please join me in welcoming Scott Fraser, Chair of Destination BC's Board of Directors.
Well, hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here with you all in Victoria today and tomorrow. And on behalf of the entire team of Destination BC, I wish to thank the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees, and the Esquimalt nations for welcoming us onto their traditional unceded territories. So we also acknowledge that the work that Destination BC does, it stretches across the territories of all First Nations in British Columbia who have stewarded this land sustainably for millennia. Now, if I've gleaned any wisdom in my years, it's come from a hereditary chief from Ahousaht, Earl McQuinnagh George. Now, he taught me a Nuu-chah-nulth phrase back in the 90s, Hishukish Sawak. Everything is one, all things are connected. We are all connected here with common cause to ensure that tourism, quality tourism, grows in this province sustainably, because sustainable tourism is connected to the well-being and the prosperity of all British Columbians. I'd like to extend a big thank you to Mayor Alto, Your Worship. We thank you for all the great work that you do, but also for the recognition specifically of the importance of tourism to your beautiful city. And another big thank you to my friend, Minister Lana Popham, for opening the conference this morning. Now, if you hadn't noticed, the minister gets it. She gets the importance of tourism to all of British Columbia. We could not have a more passionate advocate and champion in government. And of course, we'd like to thank the staff for the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport. I always get that one wrong. And all ministries across government that worked very hard to support BC's tourism industry all year long. Okay, now I know that every year Destination BC provides an amazing presentation to industry, and today's will be no exception. But I don't think we're going to be able to compete with that just incredibly inspiring presentation from Sean Booth. Wow, I had tears in my eyes, and I know many of us did too. However, tourism marketing and destination management is very much our thing at Destination BC. Now, I'm thrilled to be able to introduce Destination BC's presentation and hope that it will also inspire you as much as Sean's did, albeit in different ways. Inspiration and courage to create positive change, it comes from all over. There are so many people who work to create positive change for British Columbia. Thank you, all of you, BC's tourism operators, associations, marketers, and sectors, colleagues, for doing your part in making this industry a growing success. You are inspiring. And thank you to the Destination BC team for their hard work and the passion that they have for creating a stronger tourism industry and a more compelling visitor experience. Tourism in BC has a bright future ahead, a stronger future, because everyone is working together, connected to create positive change and make it happen. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce my friend and my colleague, Richard Porges, the CEO of Destination British Columbia.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here in Victoria. I was delighted to see the snowflakes this morning, so I was happy to see them. I wish I had a cool story about my first job in tourism to tell you like Minister Popham's. Unfortunately, my first job was working at the old Eaton's warehouse on Lougheed Highway in Burnaby. So if you don't remember what Eaton's was, we can talk later. Sorting parcels at midnight for delivery the next day. So while I don't think the minister is going to go back to working as a kabuki cab driver, I know there's a job at the Amazon warehouse up in Sydney waiting for me if I need it. So you'll see that our presentation today is going to talk a lot about collaboration. And that is a secret sauce for the BC tourism industry. It's one of the reasons we are competitive and more competitive than destinations in the rest of the world. And I want to thank Walt and Deb for organizing this conference. The BC Tourism Industry Conference is a catalyst. It provides a platform for that collaboration that makes our industry unique around the world. So thank you for all the work you do I know there's months of work behind the scenes that culminates in the 2 days we're going to have here, so thank you. So today, I'm going to start by briefly touching on how tourism is doing in British Columbia. Then Maya, Ali, and I will provide an update on an important element of our corporate strategy and of the work we will all do to shape the future of our industry and reshape the way British Columbia is seen through the eyes of global travelers. Next, we'll highlight how we will work together in BC to support that vision and make it come to life. And at the end of the presentation, as Miranda said, we'll sit down with Walt for a fireside chat to go a bit deeper into any topics that you might want more information on. So let's get started. There are many indicators that show the tourism industry in BC is on a strong path forward, despite the challenges of the last few months, thanks to the perseverance and incredible efforts of industry partners, tourism businesses, regions, and communities, and with the support of the Tourism Sector Strategy Division of the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport. We've got many reasons to be encouraged and optimistic about 2024 and beyond. Now, I know that last year in Prince George, I said it was the last time I would reference progress against 2019. And yet I'm going to do it one more time today. Today, I really mean it. We're finally putting 2019 to bed. If you look at industry performance measures, the industry is back roughly where it was at a macro level to where we were in 2019. However, the environment we operate in is different. Consumers look different. The economy looks different. The global political environment is different. So we're at a new starting point. We need to think of 2024 as a new starting point going forward. So for 2024, we're forecasting that both visitation and spend will grow for all of our domestic and international markets. At least that's what we were forecasting last week. This week, we'll probably have to make a few revisions due to the news we got last week about Mexico. But all our other markets we're very optimistic about. So again, thank you for all you're doing to ensure that tourism is set on a positive path in this province. Global and domestic tourism demand has recovered, so our challenge now is to be better prepared for the inevitable shocks the future will bring and to work together to achieve collective success. At Destination BC, we're now in the second year of our current corporate strategy. We're continuing the path, focusing on the right things and the most important things to do that align with our purpose, which is to improve the quality of life for all people living in British Columbia through tourism, and to share the transformative power of British Columbia's experiences with the world in a socially, culturally, environmentally, and economically sustainable way. As a quick reminder, our corporate strategy is built on 3 strategic levers or pillars. Our intention with this strategy is first to extend tourism seasons and increase the benefits of tourism across all regions of British Columbia. We'll do this through the compelling reasons to explore BC pillar, which includes the iconic strategy, and we'll talk about that a bit more in a couple of minutes. Second, through the globally competitive ecosystem pillar, we'll drive competitiveness by enabling more tourism businesses and organizations to access technologies, marketing channels, planning tools, data, insights, and training that are usually only available to large businesses and organizations, thus helping them become more effective and to have a bigger impact. And also by driving greater collaboration with the entire BC tourism ecosystem through programs and partnerships so we reach beyond the limits of individual resources and capabilities and make a greater impact by working together. And through our third pillar, we'll continue to take action to respectfully grow a sustainable, authentic, Indigenous cultural tourism industry in BC and contribute to British Columbia's truth and reconciliation journey. So the rest of our presentation will focus on the iconics. To set the stage, I'll briefly give an overview of the Invest in Iconic strategy and then pass the baton to Maya and Ali to share an update on the project and what's taken place recently. Throughout, we'll link the iconics to other important projects we're working on, such as our partnership with Indigenous Tourism BC and the Tourism Climate Resiliency Initiative. The iconic strategy is really a way to address a key challenge we need to solve, As a provincial industry, one of the challenges we faced for many years, long before the pandemic, is to grow tourism in rural areas of BC during the peak season and to extend tourism in mature destinations into the shoulder seasons. Easier said than done. For BC, the share of tourism revenue earned during high seasons and by Victoria, Vancouver, Whistler, and the Okanagan Valley is about the same as it was 20 years ago, meaning that while the tourism sector has grown overall, it has grown at the same times of year and largely in the same places over the last 20 years. So if we want to change that, we need to do something different. Part of the reason for this challenge is that long-haul visitors who do not know BC well will tend to default to the well-known places and to peak seasons. It can be really hard for visitors to understand the vast geography of BC and the diversity of experiences that can be had here. So think of it this way. We promote supernatural British Columbia in key markets around the world with our partners like Indigenous Tourism BC, Destination Canada, airlines, and the travel trade. These target international travelers then need to make a mind shift, going from the supernatural BC level of awareness to then sift and sort through the 300 plus options they can choose from while they're doing detailed trip planning. That's the number of routes and places we found when we created an inventory of BC travel ideas that were being promoted around the world. That's a lot. So they end up defaulting to popular, well-known places and don't realize that there's so much more to see, to learn about, and to do here. So our solution is to create a small number of differentiated areas or sub-brands within BC that are easier for travelers to understand and remember. In BC, we've identified 6 areas and 1 route that goes through them that we call iconics, which we'll go through in a couple minutes. That's a lot easier than 300 plus itineraries. With these 6 areas identified, we can then create travel itineraries as a way to help visitors connect and explore these areas, such as the Rainforest to Rockies route. There's been extensive consultation, research, and consideration over the last few years to help design these areas and routes. So thank you to the over 3,500 of you that have participated in this work. Through your input and the existing 19 destination development strategies throughout the province, we uncovered what we think is the best solution to our challenge. And now, to go into this in more detail and share an update on the launch of our first 2 iconics, please welcome Maya Lange, our VP Global Marketing and Chief Marketing Officer. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. In the spirit of sharing our first jobs in tourism, mine was actually on piling lumber at a lumber yard. So not in tourism, but I like to think that I've turned things around, and I'm now sharing our beautiful trees in a little bit of a different light. So as Richard said, I stand here, but I honestly feel all of the 3,500 people who have participated in the development of the iconics really should be up here with me on the stage and walking the red carpet. In particular, I want to call out our good friends and our co-creation partners, Indigenous Tourism BC, and all of our partners and friends and colleagues at the RDMOs, the regional destination tourism organizations in the province, who have all helped in the creation and development of these iconics. Having launched these first 2, these past few months has been an incredible moment of celebration. And I was thinking about Sean's description. I think he was quoting how Terry Fox kept his energy up, but all the lampposts. And I feel like we've arrived at our first lamppost today. So pretty exciting and a moment of celebration for everyone in the tourism industry, in this room and across the province, and of course, our partners around the world. The Iconics provides a powerful new way for us to package and market British Columbia to the international visitors. And the piece that I think is the more exciting, more compelling piece that Ali will talk about is coupling that with a structure for where and how best to apply destination marketing, destination development, and experience development across the province. Here, just as a reminder for those perhaps who haven't had a chance to see us present over the last few years on this strategy, here are the 7 iconics. Most of these are still working titles, so stay tuned for how these develop. We have Rainforest to Rockies, which is a route. We have the West Coast, the Southern Valleys, Southeast BC, the North, which has a name that I'm going to unveil shortly, Central BC, and then Vancouver and the Fraser Valley. This is a conceptual map that shows the general area of the 7 iconics. But I think what is most important is that together, these areas and these routes cover all of British Columbia. And the whole idea is that we're ensuring that every part of the province and all residents across British Columbia will benefit from a greater movement of visitors around the province. Now, each iconic is unique, kind of like each area of the province is unique. Each has its own personality and perhaps its own unifying characteristics, its own storylines and opportunities. And they all ladder up, as Richard said, to supernatural British Columbia, our provincial tourism brand. And just like perhaps the unique personalities of the 7 Dwarves and Cinderella, from happy to bashful, over the coming decades, each unique iconic will work hard to provide incremental benefits to tourism businesses, communities all around the province. Closing out 2023 and opening up 2024 saw the fruition of years of work, these first lampposts, through the launch of the first iconic brand from our Invest in Iconic strategy, the Rainforest to Rockies. And I will share a little bit more about the second iconic in a minute. We like to think of Rainforest to Rockies really as, and we're being bold here, we call it the quintessential Canadian journey across ever-changing landscapes from Victoria and Vancouver on the Pacific coast to the Canadian Rockies. Now, as many of you know, this is a journey packed with adventure, and it's truly an invitation to find the tucked away places, a chance to see wildlife, learn about Indigenous cultures along the path, and connect with a diversity of people who call British Columbia home.
I spy with my little eye every color I know, and some I've never seen before.
A rainforest with roots so deep, they stop me in my tracks.
Water that races beneath my feet as it makes its way to calmer places.
I spy with my little eye lands where the winds roam free.
Valleys where I can taste the sunshine.
Mountains that change my view of the world.
I spy with my little eye something big and furry.
An unexpected detour to my new favorite place on Earth that I didn't even know existed.
I feel the power of nature.
I hear the stories of people I meet along the way.
I take every twist and turn on the journey of a lifetime.
I see wonders unfold in every direction and how beautifully it's all connected. Along rainforest to Rockies.
Through Rainforest to Rockies, we want to encourage travelers to experience the rugged shorelines, the lush rainforests, our beautiful cities and communities, fertile valleys, the golden grasslands, and the 10 mountain ranges they pass as they make their way from the sea to sky by road, rail, or trail. Now, as we know, there are multiple highway options, encouraging travelers, however, to slow down and create their own iconic vacation. We are intentionally attracting visitors who are going to spend a week or two to explore the different areas as they pass through the Rainforest to Rockies with little loops and side trips, rather than doing it in, I think we can probably hours or a day or two. We want people to really slow down and experience everything that there is to see. Now, we know that Rainforest to Rockies is already, well, we know it is one of the world's most iconic journeys. But what we want to do now, what we want the world to think about, is think of Rainforest to Rockies in the inspiring way that they think about other global iconic routes and places, such as perhaps, the Great Ocean Road in Australia, or the pilgrimage, the Camino de Santiago in France and Spain, or, of course, the beautiful region of Tuscany, which until recently I didn't realize that actually covers 10 provinces in Italy and is, of course, one of the most iconic sub-brands of Italy. The logo for Rainforest to Rockies is intended to be a bit of a unique symbol that playfully combines the vitality of a rainforest tree with the ruggedness of a mountain peak, and then it's bolstered by this upward arrow that is intended to express the sea-to-sky climb along the way. Now, we started a number of the launch activities for R2R, as we like to call this new iconic, this past September, with a big launch with travel media, and travel trade that helped open up and warm up the interest among these really influential and important partners and sales channels in our global markets. And starting just in January, the past couple months, we launched consumer activation and campaigns in BC's key markets internationally in the UK, Australia, Germany, Mexico, and the United States. We invited potential travelers to learn more and to immerse themselves in the ever-changing landscapes of the Rainforest to Rockies. In particular, in UK and Australia, we brought this iconic to life through a 26-foot wide and 8-foot high screen we call BC's Wall of Wonder. Now, in the busy streets of London and in downtown Sydney, Australia, at the Flight Centre's iconic flagship store, passerbys were transported into the landscapes that span the Rainforest to Rockies route, from the Pacific coast to the majestic Canadian Rockies. These marketing efforts are complemented by travel trade and travel media activities, including tour operator co-ops from our key travel partners. We also did press trips, travel media story starters in both the UK and Australia, as well as many media engagements at the International Media Marketplace in London and in Sydney. Activities in Hong Kong included meeting with 25 key clients from Guangdong province and over 70 Hong Kong tour operators. And I think what's exciting from these meetings and from meetings that I've had in Sydney just recently is many have expressed a strong interest in developing a Rainforest to Rockies itineraries and products this year. Additional launch activities include digital billboards, TV advertising, YouTube, and social media channels. And I really hope that you have already begun to see some of these examples, such as travel itineraries, some of our social media posts, and some of our online ads. An inspiration to travel to BC really doesn't get much bigger than this. And I personally, as I said, had a chance to experience this and do presentations to over 500 media in Sydney this past week. And it was electrifying to see the enthusiasm and interest in this new experience, this iconic brand, which is just the first of the 7 that we will have. And I hope you're beginning to feel some of that energy and excitement that we have for these iconics. I really want to pause, though, and I want to acknowledge the many partners who have helped bring this to life and who had faith in this project as we've worked on this over the last few years. In particular, again, Indigenous Tourism BC, we could not have done it without Paula and Brenda and the board's support for the Iconics work. And in addition, of course, our regional partners who have all had a hand in the development of the Iconics project, but then also, of course, in their individual iconic brands and routes. The next iconic we're going to talk about, and the one that we've launched, is what we've called it by its working title, The North. And I'll unveil its name in a minute. I think you see it in the map for the conference, but when you look at the map of British Columbia, the North covers 60% of the landmass of this province, yet it is only 4% of the tourism revenue. I think we can all see that this is a massive area of potential. It covers more than the northern half of this province, from the coast mountains in the west to the Alberta border in the east, from Highway 16 across the middle of the province, all the way up to the Yukon border in the north. It is a northern land of massive scale and breadth, majestic and rugged peaks, to sleeping volcanoes and valleys of lava, from giant glaciers to remote hot springs. In the north, there is an abundance of wildlife. And it's not just wildlife, it is big wildlife. We have bear and moose, from caribou to elk and bison. And some even call it the Serengeti of the north. It is considered one of the world's last great wildernesses. This vast northern land is filled with open skies and seemingly endless roads. And it is home to many First Nations whose peoples have been on this land for thousands of years. It is a place of epic proportions where travelers truly feel the awesome power of the elements. And that is why we are calling this iconic by its new name, the Great Wilderness. Yay! Naming is a whole other exciting process that has many tricks and turns in it, as many of you, I'm sure, have experienced from naming products and destinations. But from our research, travelers told us that when they are surrounded by this pristine ancient lands of enormous scale, when they are enjoying the open roads and the open skies in a wilderness that they can't find anywhere else, they truly felt a connection with something much greater than themselves. And many places in the north are tucked away or might be hard to get to. And this appeals to those with an independent sense of adventure. The big goal for this iconic is awareness. It is to bring this epic land to the attention of more responsible travelers. The name, the Great Wilderness, and the logo is intended to be a visual representation of what is behind the brand strategy, incorporating things like wisdom, history, and experience. And the symbol is intended to convey the vast wilderness with limitless horizons. On January 24th, we launched the Great Wilderness at the International Media Marketplace in New York. And today, we are launching the Great Wilderness to all of you and BC's tourism industry. So this is a big milestone, a second lamppost for us, for all of us here today. The consumer launch activities are going to be starting in a few weeks in Germany, and then in April in the United States. And together with Clint and his team at the Northern BC Tourism Association, Indigenous Tourism BC, and hundreds of industry partners, the Great Wilderness is ready to change the way that the world sees this incredible part of our beautiful province.
Northern British Columbia is more than a place. It's a portal to the extraordinary. To raw and rugged worlds forged by wind, water, and time beyond measure. Worlds worth protecting and preserving. Worlds steeped in mystery and reflection. Where timeless beauty unfolds relentlessly all around you. Where stone contours the sky as it always has. Ripples disappear into a beauty that lasts forever. Historic paths wind through growth that never ceases. And stillness can move you more than you ever knew. Where the forces that shape this land are still here today, shaping you. The Great Wilderness.
And here's Clint, CEO of Northern BC Tourism, to share his story.
Thanks, Maya. Good morning, everyone. I'm always taken aback by the natural beauty, the splendor, the size of the region that I live in. And when I look at a video piece like this, it really, impacts me here. And it's such an honor to be able to live in that region and work in that region. Like Maya said, the top 60% of British Columbia, huge region, huge potential. 4% of the revenue generation, but I think when we talk about destination management and development, this region holds vast, vast potential. In the north, as we build back from the pandemic, we continue to seek opportunities that allow tourism to continue to play a strong role in our northern economy, just like many of you. The Great Wilderness Iconic, as Maya mentioned, is a strategic approach to rethinking how we package and present areas and experiences in a large part of the northern region to international markets, primarily to international markets. It's a great way to position this vast area in the province and bring the stories of this wilderness to life in a bit of a different way than we've been doing in the past. This fresh approach can help shape this part of the province for the future and bring new value, not just to tourism businesses and communities, but also to the land and the spaces in between and the people that steward and live there on a daily basis. At the end of the day, when we think about the iconics, we need to think about the narrative of those standout experiences that make up what currently drives this brand. That narrative, those experiences that are foundational to the great wilderness, from the mighty mountains, glaciers, and wildlife that we see up here behind us, to the world-famous river systems and natural hot springs, to the over 3,000 kilometers of scenic roadways that carve through our region, the experiences are vast, massive, obviously, in scale and breadth. I know I spend a lot of time driving on those highway routes, particularly for hockey trips, so sport tourism. What's really cool about the Great Wilderness sub-brand is that it gives some cohesion to such a large area of the province and connects those experiences under one umbrella brand in a packaged and marketable way. And that the sum total of that sub-brand, including the name, the Great Wilderness, lends itself very well, positions itself collectively to inspire interest from adventure seekers in long-haul markets. There's still work to be done in the years to come from both a marketing and development perspective. But with the launch of the Great Wilderness sub-brand, we continue to build a strong and sustainable destination that benefits people, businesses, and communities in this part of northern British Columbia. The launch of this iconic is big, talking a lot about big. It's no different for this launch. It's a big moment for all of us as we work closely to develop this powerful brand identity. We're excited about the potential of the Great Wilderness and excited to bring this to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. Now, we've learned a lot from the launch of the Rainforest of Rockies and the Great Wilderness, and so much so that it's actually influenced our approach and the rollout and the timing for the next 5. So originally we had planned to launch about 2 iconics each year, each giving their moment on the international stage. But then we came to understand that we can actually have a much bigger impact in the marketplace by leveraging 2 important elements. The first is some big upcoming events to the province that Minister Popham spoke about this morning. How many of you in the room remember or were involved in the 2010 Winter Olympic Games, the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and saw the impact and the visibility that BC and, of course, Whistler, Vancouver, and Richmond received? How many of you were involved in the Games in some way? Yeah. So it's pretty incredible to see and build on that knowledge, and we know that we are about to head into a period of time where there will be many global events. And one in particular, this small thing called FIFA World Cup in 2026, is going to help us put British Columbia again on the world stage. There's also this little thing called Taylor Swift. And again, I had a chance to see the impact that that woman has in Sydney. We got booted out of our hotel because the rates went through the roof and there was no more room. And it is unbelievable what is about to happen to this province over the next 2 years with these, I think, 27 months of events and activities. And I do truly believe that the attention on British Columbia is going to give us a platform for how we can showcase the iconics, which is why we've reimagined how we're going to roll out the remaining iconics. So our approach and our schedule has changed slightly. And just for context, FIFA has estimated that the 2022 World Cup in Qatar achieved a global reach of about 1.5 billion viewers, and that the tournament resulted in over 260 billion reach across all of the different platforms. So that's about a third of the world population was reached, and viewership for every single FIFA game is bigger than the Super Bowl. Now, British Columbia is going to be hosting 7 of these games. That is literally 7 Super Bowls, just to put that into context. And knowing that this opportunity was in play, we decided to revisit how best to leverage supernatural British Columbia and help then elevate the 7 iconics. And so it led us to this new approach. So instead of doing these individual brand launches staggered over the next few years, we're going to launch all 7 experiences under Supernatural British Columbia in 2025 in time for the World Cup. So we are one of 16 cities that are going to be hosting these games, and we're going to come out in advance of the games to really put British Columbia on the global stage. This holistic approach, we believe, will be much more powerful than doing these individual launches. And we've taken inspiration from others that have multiple sub-brands under one master brand family. So classic marketing families such as Post cereals. They're all wholesome and delicious, yet each distinct. We've got Raisin Bran and shredded wheat and grape nuts, again, all under that Post cereal brand. Or, a little closer to home, the Marriott Bonvoy offers the largest and most diverse collection of brands and hospitality. I think over 30 brands, 139 countries, including everything from the Ritz, the Sheraton, the West, and then the Courtyard brands. Now, the individuality of each of these brands provides travelers with a variety of experiences depending on their mood, travel intent, their trip purchase, and perhaps their price point. We can take inspiration from another industry, craft breweries. They do an incredible job of expressing the distinctiveness of each of their brands through, and the identities through imagery and font and color, while borrowing and supporting from the parent brand, the parent brewing brand. And another example that we've been following closely through the development of the iconics is, of course, Discover Ireland. And they have 4 regional sub-brands, experience brands of Dublin, the Wild Atlantic Way, the Ancient East, and then the Hidden Heartlands. And of course, in addition to the tremendous impact of leveraging the FIFA World Cup in 2026, and of course the other global events, the supernatural British Columbia brand of families, this shift will help us with, of course, the second element, which is all of the other sort of usual suspects in marketing that we want to take advantage of, such as customer loyalty between the iconics, looking at economies of scale and marketing efficiencies. And honestly, the ease of educating our international partners and our potential travelers about what there is to do in British Columbia. So launching all of these together so they have a clear idea of what is available in the province. As part of this shift, we're also going to be developing an app, a mobile app, that will have a graphic treatment during FIFA to showcase the iconics. The app is going to launch in a beta form later this year with existing travelers, and then will continue to be developed in the lead up to the FIFA games, and will be finalized in 2025. Of course, its intent is to help disperse people during and prior and post FIFA. But the important thing is that this continues to live on as part of our long-term strategy to help people understand, have a clear idea of what there is to do in the province, and to really support that geographic and seasonal growth that Richard was talking about. Together with the Ministry of Tourism, culture and sport, with Destination Vancouver, with Destination Canada, Indigenous Tourism BC, and the BC DMOA, we have created a new tourism consortium that is overseeing the development of a province-wide strategy. The intent for this tourism consortium and the province-wide strategy is to harness the benefits of FIFA 2026 in Vancouver for all of tourism in BC. And if you want to learn more about this, please do not hesitate to talk to me during the conference over the next couple of days. Some of you might be wondering, that's great, that's 2025 and 2026. So how is Destination BC going to be supporting communities and businesses from now until 2025 when we have this big global Supernatural BC launch and the 7 Iconics? Don't worry. Marketing support continues, as always, for all areas of the province through our ongoing consumer marketing, our travel trade, and travel media initiatives. And as Carla Grennan on my team calls this, the always-on activities, and they're very much part of our ongoing activities over the next couple of years. Throughout the year, Destination BC's always-on activities include brand building and the seasonal and geographic growth goals. The always-on activities include travel trade and travel media, our paid search programs, the co-op marketing partnerships programs, as well as, of course, being featured on all of our own channels, the Hello BC website, our email channels as well. And to learn more about our marketing activities, please join us this afternoon at 1:15 after lunch in the Saanich room, where we're going to be sharing more about our 2024 marketing plan. We also, in the coming weeks, have an industry toolkit that will be coming out all about the Rainforest to Rockies brand, calling it a Train the Trainer course, and more information will be available on our website and through our channels. Now, there are a few more Iconics to go, and we still have a lot of work ahead of us. We have, of course, Southeast BC and Southern Valleys, the West Coast, Central BC, and Vancouver and the Fraser Valley. So this certainly isn't the last time that you're going to be hearing from us. We will continue to provide lots of updates across all of our channels, through our partners, and at events around the province. And next year, we're going to have so much more to share with you about how they have progressed over this last year, and of course, on our launch plans. And I do want to take a moment to recognize, again, ITBC and our regional partners, Brian, Kathy, Amy, Ellen, Clint, and Chad at VCM for all of their work in helping to bring these to life. I'm going to now welcome Alison McKay, my colleague, good friend, and Vice President of Destination Management, to share more.
Wow. Well, thank you, Maya, and thank you, everyone. Good morning. First jobs. Oh, goodness, I had to think about that. Like Maya and Richard, mine also was not in the tourism industry. I was born and raised in an amazing gem of a Rockies route, in fact. It's called Princeton, British Columbia. And my first job was actually in an industry that less than 10 years later was going to be massively disrupted. Little did they know. And I didn't work for a big chain like Blockbusters, but my first job was a video rental clerk for a locally owned independent video store. So very important for me to learn hospitality and frontline service. But back to the Iconics. An important part of Rainforest to Rockies is destination development. Iconics will change the tourism landscape of BC for decades to come, and we want to ensure that it is shaped in the right way to support Supernatural British Columbia brand and our collective future success. To responsibly grow tourism revenue across all of British Columbia and in all seasons, and for visitors to have more opportunities to meaningfully connect with this incredible province and all of the amazing people that live here. We are doing this through the integration of place branding and destination development. These two work together to ensure that the promise of the place, the brand, is delivered when visitors arrive in the place, which is destination development. This integration is radiating throughout our organization and the way that we're working. Our marketing teams are working really close with our destination development teams. Maya and I, we're joined at the hip, it seems like. We're helping to champion the unification of all these activities that are needed for each one of the Iconics to be successful. To guide destination development through that lens of the iconics, we're coordinating this work through 3 important pillars: experiences, encounters, and touch points. Experiences are the opportunities for visitors to engage, participate, interact, learn, and explore an area, really get a better sense, local understanding, broader awareness of everything that our amazing destinations offer. Encounters is a face-to-face opportunity to engage with people, real people, locally, those that provide that story of the place. Coffee shop baristas, front desk staffs, maybe video rental clerks, locals on a mountain trail, but of course our amazing visitor center counselors. And then touch points are signifiers at key locations that provide an all-important welcome, orientation, reassurance to visitors that they need when they want to navigate throughout a destination. This could be a warm welcome provided by Indigenous songs and artwork, but touch points are also those physical ways that a place brand will show up on the ground. It includes things like signage, maps, navigation tools, even interpretive centers, museums, things that provide, again, learning opportunities, points of orientation to the unique stories of these amazing places. These 3 pillars were identified in collaboration with ITBC, the 6 tourism regions, and of course our colleagues at the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sports. We believe that hyper-focusing our efforts on experiences, encounters, and touch points will really help the iconic brands shine in destination, elevate that overall visitor experience, and leverage the amazing work and the partnerships that are underway all across this incredible province. Over the last year, a lot has happened on the destination development front. With our regional colleagues, we've engaged with tourism businesses, communities, partners, all across the Rainforest to Rockies route. And with that input, we're scoping out initiatives that'll have that strong impact on that visitor experience. Here you can see some examples of things that have come out of these engagement sessions. So along the Rainforest to Rockies route, we looked at the journey through those individual highway segments, and we identified experiences that align with the Rainforest to Rockies brand pillars. We identified if there was any capacity issues with those experiences, or were there enhancements that are already planned or even underway. We identified what future projects might be needed, and what might be needed to move those projects forward. Started to identify those foundational story themes that could be told through key experiences. Unique stories are that critical bridge between the brand and destination development. And when it's weaving those stories right into that visitor experience, that is what is going to help differentiate British Columbia from all of the other destinations in the world. By identifying and presenting those story themes, visitors are then able to go deeper into the destination and be transformed, be compelled to contribute, to give back, even adopt a more responsible approach to how they travel. We've also started plotting on a map existing touch points, the signage, the rest stop, the maps, the interpretive areas, and artwork, but importantly also touch point gaps along the route. We're highlighting projects that could have an impact on closing those gaps or enhancing the visitor experience. Indigenous storytelling. The vision that we at Destination BC have always had for the iconics is that they will give us that long-term direction for tourism development. It'll be a blueprint for where investment is needed and how funds could and should be spent to really help tourism grow in BC. Now, where we are, it's really becoming tangible. The work we've done this past year has pointed this out for the Rainforest to Rockies route. And we will continue to do just that for each of the iconics as well. This blueprint is essential. It's been missing, and it's that much needed tool that will help us grow tourism investment in the province. Now, here to share some additional efforts about this is Destination BC's very own Emily, a face I think is familiar to many of you in the room, but she's also our Manager of Destination Development Iconics.
I live in beautiful Kimberley on the homeland of the Ktunaxa people. And between working at Kootenay Rockies Tourism for many years and now Destination BC, my career in the tourism industry and mainly in destination development is almost over 20 years. In British Columbia, destination development really happens from the grassroots, from the bottom up through so much community effort. So there's already so many great things happening at that level, and that's really what we want to support. In fact, with our regional partners, we tracked investments in destination development in BC, and over the last 3 years, there's been about $1.7 billion invested in just about 1,500 projects. And that includes investments from the federal government, the provincial government, local government, regional trusts, Indigenous communities. And those projects are directly supporting and advancing the vision and goals laid out in the destination development strategies that Destination BC, together with the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport, the regions, and Indigenous Tourism BC created a few years ago. So how do we empower 1,500 plus partners and organizations in all moving in the same directions and helping achieve those bigger goals? The approach we're taking is to connect, to listen, to meet partners where they're at, and to identify ways that they can participate. We want to be there to help guide those hyper-local efforts and bring them to life in a new way that will really create impacts locally, but also help bring those big, global, iconic brands to life in a meaningful way. Here are 3 examples of what Destination BC is doing to support the Rainforest to Rockies corridor. First, we're supporting visitor centers with up to $40,000 in grant funding to help enhance the visitor experience in their communities and also advance the iconic destination development pillars of experiences, encounters, and touchpoints. Visitor center staff and counselors are so critical in destination development, and they can really help make a difference in motivating international travelers, in stopping along the way, getting off the main highway, exploring more of the communities, and engaging in local experiences. As a second example, Destination BC has recently launched a new experience development program to increase the critical mass of experiences available along the Rainforest to Rockies corridor. The goal is to find, advance, and support new tourism ideas that will again provide motivation for international travelers to get off the main highways and to experience new things and to engage more meaningfully with the destinations they visit, and in alignment with the Rainforest to Rockies brand. So by that, we also want to invite more people to participate in tourism and to benefit from it. So 12 program winners will be paired with a mentor and $3,000 in seed funding to help them develop their idea to the next level and create a really compelling experience out of it. We have successfully implemented 11 experience development programs in British Columbia, and that includes the Columbia Valley Intensive Experience Development Program that was completed last year. Through this program, 9 new amazing visitor experiences emerged and can be purchased by visitors and directly align the Columbia Valley brand. And third, we continue to work very closely with our colleagues in the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport and other partners in government to align our priorities and invest in high-impact projects in alignment with Rainforest to Rockies, and that includes branded signage as an example. From my destination development perspective, it is the combination of the little and not so little local developments that really contribute to making our destination more resilient, more attractive and unique, and really create an impact for communities and businesses in the long term.
So now, like Maya, I can imagine all of us on that red carpet together, and we're celebrating and getting excited about how real the iconics have really become. We can witness travelers around the world getting introduced to them, getting excited about exploring them. We can see the visitor centers, businesses, and communities engaging with them locally. Can you envision how BC can be a more competitive destination in the future? I can now, so powerfully that I'm starting to get goosebumps. In the decades to come, travelers in our key markets will not only know the iconics by name, but they're gonna have a strong desire. They're gonna be pulled out of their homes to come and to visit. Once they're in British Columbia, visitors will spread out over places, over seasons. They'll be exploring more communities, getting that strong sense of place and an even stronger desire to come back and to visit time and time again. Come and experience all of the 7 iconics. Businesses will be more successful year-round. Investment potential will be easier to achieve. There really is a groundswell of work happening to develop tourism for respectful growth. Some amazing partners to tell us more about how initiatives like the iconics can build bridges across projects and culture.
I'm Paula Amos from Indigenous Tourism BC. I'm the Chief Marketing and Development Officer, and I'm from Heshkwit First Nation, and I'm also from Squamish Nation. We have been working with Destination BC and other partners on the iconics from the very beginning to advance the vision, to develop the place brands, and to lead engagement on destination development activities. It's exciting to see so many pieces come together to make a positive impact in Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities. The work we are doing in BC has also been enhanced through the Destination Canada Tourism Corridor Strategy Program along Highway 3 to support the existing traveler dispersion strategies. The ripple effects of all these national, provincial, and local efforts coming together makes BC stand out and be more competitive globally. A great example is the work happening within the Tanaha territory, which supports the Rainforest to Rockies route.
Akisukukit, Janice Alpine. I am with the Tanaha Nation Council based in Cranbrook in Amakastunaka, and I am a business development officer with tourism engagement.
My name is Darren Brewer, and I'm the Economic Development Officer for the City of Cranbrook. I've been in my role here for 5 years, and Janice, Alpine, and myself, we're working together, hand in hand, working towards a common shared goal.
We want to be able to share both sides of the story, taking a look at before settlers, before Europeans, understanding what we did with this area, and then how it looks today, because they are so very different.
Our residents want to see tourism grow, but it's not without limitation. Like, we have to do it with care, with concern for the natural environment, with respect for the shared history with the Tanaka. Whether it be wayfinding signage that has a visible and meaningful representation of the Tanaka in our signs.
We know it's important, and I know Cranbrook know it's important that we do collaborate and help one another bring in visitors and share a certain experience.
We have a compelling story to tell people about the First Nations and the history of the lands here. I feel privileged to be able to be a part of the team that gets to tell that story.
It's just like coming together and old familiar friends and just sharing, and I think that's quite important.
Tourism provides us with a platform for building economies in our communities and to also share and educate who we are as Indigenous peoples. That's why I like tourism. Partnerships and relationships are key for innovation and to strengthen Indigenous identity. The Iconics is a powerful tool for us all to work together.
So through the iconics, Indigenous values and cultures will be more infused into the supernatural British Columbia brand. We're addressing those challenges that Richard identified earlier. Growing tourism in rural areas in the peak season, extending the tourism in mature destinations, and helping international visitors understand that vast geography of BC and the diversity of experiences that are offered here. And another important part about how we work together on the iconics is through the continued evolution and strengthening of the globally competitive tourism ecosystem, another part of our corporate strategy. This is about how we work together in BC to support our collective tourism vision and really make that vision come to life. Typically, we think about collaboration as providing tools or data or marketing technologies, maybe to help make a business, a community DMO, or a marketer more effective. These could be things like social media toolkits, research dashboards, or content hubs. The other part of that pillar that we don't talk much about is the actual working together. And it's our hope that every single one of you and all of the tourism industry will support the iconics and work together as a massive collaborative beehive of an ecosystem that we are, a network, and that can work together to shape this new future that we're all striving towards. We have such amazing examples in BC of really high-performing networks. The Visitor Center Network that Emily mentioned in her video, over 130 community members that are sharing learning, projects, tools, and best practices. There's a network of over 80 partners in the Cooperative Marketing Partnership Program, where every year over $9.6 million of partner funding is invested. The destination development networks that have formed throughout British Columbia to helping to implement those 19 destination development strategies. The network of organizations and businesses that strengthen Indigenous tourism development that our fantastic partner ITBC helps to lead. These networks are successful not just because they make stronger and better tools, but because the people within them stop and take time to learn from and support each other. They see the benefits of collaborating, of being better together. These networks are a true competitive advantage for BC. Seriously, we get calls all the time from other destinations in Canada, all around the world, and they're coming to us and they're wanting to know what is our secret in BC. So if we want to keep those destinations on their toes, we really want and need all to continue to collaborate on the iconic so that we can maintain and grow that position of strength as we shift into the high gear that Maya mentioned over the next few years. We want to work to create opportunities for all of us to continue to be innovative in a way that any one of us can learn from, sharing knowledge, testing ideas, and then expanding on those ideas. An amazing story that is recognized globally of leading from the front, testing, and then scaling up was grown right here in BC. That work started regionally, and it led to a $3 million investment from the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport in what's now called the BC Climate Resiliency. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Ellen Walker-Matthews, the CEO of Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association, and she'll share her story of making a bigger difference. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Allie, and it's been quite a wonderful journey that we've been on. I'm going to tell you a little story. It started several years ago, and it culminated in what we're going to talk about today. I was once one of those Albertans who made the annual pilgrimage from the Okanagan to vacation with my parents. I have wonderful memories of those years. The anticipation of the journey, the turn at Sicamous that really marked the beginning of our holidays, a stop at D. Dutchman Dairy for ice cream, and summer days spent at the beach, surrounded by all the many sounds of lake life. The laughter, the birds, the boats, and importantly, the sound of that water lapping at the shores. All this was etched in my mind, and I would transport it home with me and recall it during those cold winter days in Alberta. And like many that have visited, it is these experiences that eventually led me to make the Thompson Okanagan region my home. Then I was fortunate enough to join the Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association in 2009. And since 2010, our organization has prioritized stewardship of the region, striving to preserve its allure for both residents and visitors. Our 10-year regional plan, released in 2012 and updated in 2020, focused on building a resilient tourism industry, reducing seasonality, and promoting responsible and sustainable tourism practices. Over the years, significant progress has been made. The region achieved Biosphere Gold certification from the Responsible Tourism Institute in 2017, and we've maintained that gold certification each year since. We have and continue to collaborate with various stakeholders and partners on initiatives including Indigenous engagement, access and inclusion programs, emergency and crisis planning, and communication, and finally the development of climate action plans and initiatives. Together with our regional partners at the BC Regional Tourism Secretariat, TOTA's efforts culminated in the establishment of the BC Tourism Sustainability Network, or the BCTSN, in 2022, with funding from Pacifican. This network, a collaboration among regional tourism organizations, provided support and resources to assist tourism operators in their development of sustainable tourism practices. The Tourism Sustainability Network offered personalized advisory services, workshops, and guidance to tourism businesses, helping them to develop an individualized roadmap to assist in integrating sustainability into their operations in an effective way. In January of this year, as Ali just mentioned, the network evolved into the BC Tourism Climate Resiliency Initiative with over $3 million. This collaboration brings together the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sports, Destination BC, the regional DMOs, and Indigenous Tourism BC. Our team had long hoped that this sustainability journey that we started in 2010 would eventually become provincial, and we are so encouraged that it has. The focus of this new provincial initiative builds on the previous program with the goal to assist tourism businesses in adopting climate adaptation strategies and sustainable practices. Participants receive free support from advisors and experts, along with options for audits and assessments in areas such as food waste, energy audits, water management, and greenhouse gas emissions. The transition from the Tourism Sustainability Network to the Tourism Climate Resiliency Initiative marks a significant step towards a provincial approach to this big problem that we have and to sustainable tourism. This collaborative effort underscores the importance of scalability and adaptability in addressing the challenges posed by climate change. By building on existing initiatives and creating collaboration among stakeholders, the Climate Resiliency Initiative helps to ensure a resilient and responsible tourism sector province-wide for the long term. The success of this work hinges on continued collaboration and commitment from all the partner organizations. Together, we can navigate complexities of climate change and steward British Columbia's natural beauty for the future generations. This initiative represents a crucial milestone for our collective journey towards climate and resilient sustainable tourism. Ultimately, the goal is to create a vibrant and prosperous future for all British Columbians where tourism remains a positive force for change. By embracing sustainability and climate resiliency, we can ensure that future generations can continue to enjoy, just as I did, the pleasure of lying on the beach, closing their eyes, listening to the sounds of nature, and cherishing all of the beauty that surrounds them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you for the leadership you and your organization have shown on climate resiliency and sustainability. You've really shown us the way. Tourism has a bright future in British Columbia, and through the next decade and beyond, we'll build on our sustainable competitive advantage of a collaborative tourism ecosystem that is very hard for other destinations to match. So I want to thank Scott, Maya, Ali, and all our storytellers, Clint, Emily, Paula, and Ellen. You've really brought to life some of the strategies we're enabling. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. We're here to support you through the challenges that may come and to work together to achieve collective success. We're all excited about the future, and BC's tourism industry's future starts now. So thank you for being on this journey with us. And now let's transition to our panel And I'm sure Walt's got some tough questions in store for us. So I'll invite Maya and Ali back to the stage.
Maya and Ali. I'll be on here soon. There we go. Thank you so much, three of you and the other participants. That was excellent. And I think all of us are comforted in this room and confident in the work that Destination BC is doing. And we really appreciate your leadership. This is your chance too. It's not only my questions. This is your chance to ask questions via Slido. So please pull it up via the conference app or just look on your browser for slido.com. And the code is BCTIC 2024. So there are lots of things that we can talk about in the presentation. I also want to address a few issues, but let me start off with one that I think is reasonably easy. But you mentioned, Maya, you talked about the consortium that's being brought together in the context of World Cup and other major events upcoming. And I recall back in the lead up to the Olympic Games, there was also a tourism consortium that did a lot of work and was set as a model for the Olympic Games, let alone other major events. What did you learn from that consortium that can apply now to this new one that's been formed?
Well, I have to say I'm a believer in taking a good idea and building on it. So absolutely taking the strategy that was developed for the successful hosting of the Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games and building on that. So the tourism consortium that I mentioned is coming together. We just saw a draft strategic approach in the last couple of days, and it very much builds on what we saw was a success in successfully hosting and harnessing the energy and attention on British Columbia. So there's very much looking at the province-wide strategy, building off of what was done. There were also a number of working groups that were pulled together, whether it was things like, how do we work with travel trade? How do we work with media? What is the sort of common theme that we're going to talk about when we talk about BC? And I could go on, but again, those working groups will take place and will be opportunities for many more of you to participate in bringing input into making these FIFA games a success. But more importantly, I think, is also these other events that are happening. And as I mentioned earlier, we can't deny that the Taylor Swift impact, she has the ability to shift economies. She's coming in December 2024. That is a key month, or a key month of opportunity for Vancouver and the province. Of course, we also have the Grey Cup. That's 30,000 people that will come, that will travel to Vancouver. That's happening in November. We also have the Invictus Games. There will be a lot of international attention, less travelers, but more international attention on BC, and then the games. So anyways, I could talk for hours, but this consortium is very much building on the work, the strategy, the working groups, and the model from the 2010 Winter Olympic Games.
So we have a number of questions already, and thank you to those of you who are populating our Slido. So will Vancouver Island, that's just popped to the second one, but we can take it, will Vancouver Island be included in the RTOR campaign?
Yeah.
It was not on the map.
I can take a response, and if Ali wants to add anything. So building out these iconics has been an incredible journey in figuring out, where does each community, where does each community, where does each region sort of fit in? And first of all, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is Vancouver Island will actually be included also in the West Coast. And we're still in the process of figuring out, is the West Coast going to be a route? Is it a place? There's a number of decisions that still need to be made. But in the R2R, we do reference that it starts actually in Victoria on the southern tip of Vancouver Island and extends to the Rocky Mountains.
Did you want to add to that?
Well, I think just similar to sort of destination development, and you've heard us talk about the iconic map in the past, I'm sure, it's like we recognize that there's fuzzy boundaries in a lot of these, and there may be overlapping or areas where a community, as the brand's strategies and pillars are created and then being able to communicate, you might see aspects of it. So from the destination development standpoint, we know a lot of this is 100% community locally led. And our team just really wants to work to understand how through our programming we can help support what those local goals are and where they might ladder up to one or more of those iconics. So that's the way we think about it, the fuzzy boundaries.
And then nothing is set in stone. I think that especially what we've seen in the learning of the launching these first two is we're learning so much. And so we may make some different choices as this project progresses or as the years progress. This is a long-term strategy for the organization. So we may change the boundaries. We're going to learn, as I said, as we go through it. And that's why we actually, the excitement around this, and is my community in this one or this one, the excitement around it is exactly what why we want to build all of them now and then launch them when they're all ready, because everyone wants to see their piece in one of these or more of these.
So the next question is about DBC's impact to the individual operator. I think people understand it from the perspective of a community DMO perhaps, or a regional DMO, a sector association, but when you look at it from a provincial lens, as DBC, how can you impact the individual operator?
Maybe I'll start and then I'll pitch it to Maya and Ali. So we're a provincial organization. We're part of a complex ecosystem that works well together, and we each have our role to play. Our role is primarily to provide an environment where businesses can be successful. That might be through marketing, and I'll pitch it to Maya to talk a bit about marketing, but we sell BC to the world, send up to individual businesses to sort of make the cash register ring and actually make a sale to a visitor. And similarly, on the destination management side, we're managing the overall environment. We're encouraging development that will create experiences that are attractive to visitors. And then we're working with regional partners, with communities, and CDMOs that have direct connections with businesses.
Maybe I can just add, sort of taking it down now a level from that overview that Richard provided. From the marketing side, of course, yes, as Richard said, creating the awareness and the desire to want to come to British Columbia, having a clear understanding of what BC has to offer. And then the key piece where this really intersects with communities and businesses directly or sectors is in our work with travel trade. So travel trade, tour operators are a key way that many destinations or many countries and travelers in countries around the world book their travel for a variety of reasons. And so we work with the travel trade to feature itineraries, and specifically businesses will be included and featured in those itineraries. We work with travel media. So we host, I don't know, I think the number is around 400 media trips a year to British Columbia, and that's to inspire that visitation to British Columbia. Again, featuring specific communities and businesses and sectors to help enrich that itinerary that somebody can do. Of course, in all of our content marketing and our campaigns, we're featuring businesses and featuring the gamut of what BC has to offer. But I think the key thing is, as Richard said, sort of creating that crystallization, that awareness of what BC has to offer, and then connecting that tangibly with the entities and the organizations that can convert that to a sale.
Yeah. Just to close or add a little bit more, I think about when we had a chance, and a lot of our staff had a chance to go out on the road, gosh, maybe not last summer, the summer before, as we were developing our current corporate strategy, and talk and listen post-COVID. Like, what are the needs? What is the challenges? What's the future? What are you looking for Destination BC and tourism? And we heard really clearly that, as it's always been important, but really important, that we think about business profitability, we think about business viability, and business resiliency. And so when it comes to destination management and some of the programs that my teams either maybe help lead or work really, really closely with our regional colleagues, community DMOs, we're thinking through that lens. What are business operators needing, and how can we help to fill some of those gaps, whether it's digital marketing training, whether it might be experience development programs, how to craft new revenue opportunities to extend your season if you're looking to stay open a couple weeks and couple months. That's a really important element that we look to see if we have a role, and through our programming or through our partnerships, how we might be able to support those needs from a business operator perspective. Because viability and resiliency is absolutely key to the future of tourism and where we see the potential to grow. And then bringing those needs back on, whether it's access, labor challenges? What are the things that are barriers to individual operators? And sharing that with our colleagues in government, with our colleagues in Ministry of the Tourism, Arts and Culture. So that's a little bit how we have a little bit of a close connection to the operator in the destination management side.
Really good question on iconics. Considering the BC iconics are primarily geared to the drive market, how will DBC ensure a sustainable approach in travel while experiencing iconics?
Yeah, this is a great question. So while the rainforest to Rockies is a route, it is possible to do that route via, obviously by car, which can be an e-car, or of course by trail or by rail. And the Rocky Mountaineer, for example, is having been in Australia, that is like the dream of Australians, is to take the Rocky Mountaineer. So I want to be clear that there are multiple ways that this route can be experienced. But the key is with the other iconics, whether there are place brands or routes, is that they will also, they're positioned that you may want to have a little, like a bit of a home base in one community, and then you're going to do trips from there. Or you may want to, you may plant yourself in one particular place and then, as I said, experience what that has to offer. The other piece is that we're also looking at who we travel to British Columbia. So Ali talked a little bit about responsible travel behavior, and each of the iconics is very much geared towards the types of values of the people that we're going to be attracting to British Columbia. So are they, for example, values could be looking to lighten their environmental impact, looking or seeking out, small businesses or local artisans, or perhaps people who are interested in experiencing Indigenous tourism experiences. So looking at that set of values, and we're just in the process of collaborating with Destination Canada on really important global traveler segmentation work that we're then adapting for British Columbia. So it's very much, again, about who we're going to be attracting to BC for each of these iconics, and then of course the experiences they have on the ground. Do you want to add anything else about sustainability?
Lots of questions related
to
iconics here. I'm not sure if this is on. Can you hear me? Yeah, it's okay. Okay, thank you. So sustainability considerations being embedded into iconics campaigns, then work with various ministries to advance and support the much needed tourism infrastructure projects in rural BC, and then iconics itineraries are developed. How can sectors and operators best position themselves for inclusion? There was also a question that I saw on KPIs, which I know you referenced earlier, that you will be measuring the impact and the success of the iconics campaign down the road. So a number of them that I've just wrapped together here.
Lots of interest. That's good.
Well, I can take one. I've seen my calves. I feel like I'm on an airplane. My toes are touching. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. Gosh, should have worn heels. Sorry, where was it? It was about the ministries. I think how is Destination BC might work with ministries to help with tourism development or infrastructures projects specifically in rural BC. I think that was the question. Awesome question. And I think I want to go back to the 19 destination development strategies that were created in 2014, 2015, and are alive and are living and breathing. And it's really about a puzzle coming together now. And that's a piece of the puzzle now in the iconics and the visitor experience framework that I was mentioning earlier around the experiences, the encounters, the touch points. So that is, again, another piece in that puzzle to communicate where there are these needs, are these amazing opportunities, are constraints to investments, and we have the demand data on the global potential of these that we can now couple that with and take out those conversations. The amazing power of tourism in BC, that secret sauce is collaboration, but it's about partnerships and working in those destination development networks with communities, with businesses, with the regions, and then certainly with our colleagues in the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, who are the voice and the champion of tourism throughout the provincial government. That is going to be absolutely key. Work we've been really starting to do and leaning into since 2014 and are committed to doing. So the destination development strategies live, and it's important to continue to see those implemented, and they're another piece in our iconics puzzle.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking about the sectors and operators. That is a fantastic question. And I would also encourage anybody, if you want to join the marketing plan conversation this afternoon, there's also, make sure that there's opportunity to ask more questions, specific questions. But I mentioned it in my presentation, is there will be sessions and materials coming up on our website all around the Rainforest of Rockies. And having seen what the teams put together around brand guidelines and the toolkits that exist, all of these like logos and treatment of logos and colors, like we need businesses and communities to adopt these iconics, to make them powerful. This is the model we saw in Ireland, and having had a chance to personally experience the Wild Atlantic Way. When these brands, when these logos, when these elements are taken on by the businesses and by the communities, that's when these things are successful. They're not going to be successful if we do this from the top down and talk about it globally, but you don't see it on the ground. And so there are so many materials that are coming that will be available to each of you, but I encourage you to please stay tuned to Destination BC, our website, to our social channels. I'm sure Claire's going to want me to mention LinkedIn and other channels, but please do stay tuned, because I've seen the materials that the teams are putting together, and there's so much. We want you to adopt these brands, and we would love you to put up stickers and adopt logos and so on. So more coming, and I think that's probably the best. And then it just starts there, right? It's adaptation, like development of new experiences. Ali talked about the Spark program. I mean, these are amazing opportunities for businesses to build out new experiences that, may bring an aspect of the Rainforest of Rockies to life, for example. So many more things to come. This is just the beginning.
There's been a lingering question here on the rapid advancement of technology and innovative approaches DBC is adopting. And I would suggest that's probably in an AI context as well. So
I feel like somebody planted that question, because I'm like, this is one of my favorite subjects. Again, I think it's anonymous, but if any of those 27 people want to talk to me specifically and directly, I would absolutely encourage a conversation about how Destination BC has been adopting new technologies. Specifically as it relates to, let's say, AI, we've done a number of things. One is, you can look at AI across a number of dimensions. One is around productivity. We've hosted sessions for our teams to learn to understand how they can increase individual productivity using AI tools. You can look at it from the perspective of research, and I know Erin Hodgins is here, our Director of Research, and is absolutely implementing tools that have AI embedded into it. But I think when I think about marketing effectiveness, and I think about marketing opportunities and working, providing real-time accurate information to travelers, the mobile app that I talked about earlier is building. We have built an AI chatbot that currently scrapes, I think it's about 20 different websites, including ours and some of our partners around the province, pulls in content, and the intent is to have this chatbot live on our website this spring, and it will respond and provide answers to people about what they can do in their immediate vicinity. So currently, when you come to our website, there's relatively, I'll say it, just static information about an itinerary. You don't know where you might be on that route, for example, on the Rainforest of Rockies. But with the power of a chatbot, you can figure out what festivals and events are coming up. What are immediate things in my vicinity where I am that you can recommend that I could do? Connecting you to businesses and those operators that we talked about earlier. So again, it's being implemented across a number of different facets. But again, I welcome a direct conversation with anyone who wants to learn more about many other things that we're doing as well.
Unfortunately, we only have about 90 seconds left, but I did want to ask you about both Mexico and China. We know the scenarios. Mexico was, I think, our second largest international market at present, and we'll likely see a drop because of the implementation of visas by the federal government. Similarly, China, I think, was tracking as our second largest international market a few years ago. We lost ADS status, and we're desperate to get it back. But is there still work going on in those markets, or how will you adjust in Mexico in particular? And what does the future look like for those two markets for British Columbia?
That's another Maya question.
So a couple of things. One is China. We did not lose ADS. We lost group approved destination status. So important distinction because ADS was granted to Canada in 2010. We've had representation in China since 2010, so it's 2011, cohabitating with Destination Canada and a couple of the other provinces. And China, we believe, will return in about 2027. We do need that group ADS status to be reinstated because what happens currently is without that status, Canada is not put forward by tour operators as a potential destination to visit. I think there's, I don't know, last August, 78 countries were added to the list that got group ADS. The US, Australia, but for reasons beyond our conversation today, Canada was not added. So that has definitely hampered the return of China as one of our largest markets. So just to give you a context, I think pre-pandemic 2019, we were at about 330,000 international visitors from China a year. We're down about 65% for 2024. And again, that won't come back until that group ADS status is reinstated. We are, however, seeing a couple of other phenomena. One is independent travelers of Chinese origin are traveling through other countries to Canada. So that is why our work in Hong Kong and in Singapore and in other countries, Asian countries, are really important because we're seeing those travel patterns through other destinations. And so our team in China continues to build both presence and visibility in China for the independent travelers, as well as beginning to do work in other countries, as I said, such as Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia, where we believe, and of course Hong Kong and Taiwan, where we believe that there's potential for future growth. Mexico, we have not yet adjusted we're in the process of adjusting our forecasts. Obviously, this just came about last week. But again, just for context, we were anticipating about 200,000 Mexicans coming to British Columbia in 2024. That is actually up 25% over 2019. So that market was actually growing rapidly. It is a highly affluent market for those that come here for leisure travel, and they were coming in different seasons as well. So a very valuable market for us. So we are beginning to see the impact. We are going to start seeing some cancellations. But the good news is that the visa restriction is a little bit different than the last time around. So in 2009, the visa requirement was instated, and it had a pretty significant immediate impact on visitation from Mexico. What is different with this one is if you already have an existing US visa or you have had a Canadian visa in the past, you do not need a new visa to come to Canada. So that is a significant difference between what happened in 2009 and then what's happening this year. So, and we do know that a significant number, about 60% of our travelers to Canada already have a US visa. So the impact won't be as significant as it was in 2009, but it will no doubt have an impact.
Ali?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Richard.
One thing I would add is that for the China market, even though we are down 65%, it is still about the size of the German market for BC, and it has shown significant growth over the last year. So it's still a strong market, albeit starting from a much lower place than it was pre-pandemic.
So with that, unfortunately, we need to conclude because of timing, but Ali, Maya, Richard, thank you so much again. Thank you for supporting the conference and for your great leadership and work. Really appreciate it.